Hey guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka Geek XX Chic, and I'm here with another reaction to The Gifted. We are on season 1, episode 7, which is called Extreme Measures. So, last week on the show, we had quite a bit going on. It was a lot of moving parts, a lot to follow, but very enjoyable in that we still just got a little bit more exposition. We got a little bit more moving forward with the plot. The biggest points being the fact that Reed and Marco and I can't remember his son's name right now. They all went on a little road trip to go and get some files to try to figure out what's going on with Sentinel Services and how it is they're able to turn mutants against each other, because obviously it's going to change the whole game if they have to fight both humans and mutants, especially those who are their friends. So that road trip happened and it was relatively hitch-free. The other big things that happened, Jace getting reinstated. Like, he was supposed to be on like leave because of what happened with Dreamer, but he was desperate to get back to work because his hate for the mutants is on a whole new level after what Dreamer did to him. And so he ended up reaching out to the doctor, who was desperate to get his hands on the Strucker kids as a means to get his job back. But I think he kind of knew that he was selling his soul to the devil with that, because he doesn't really know anything about this doctor, and I think his gut instinct is not to trust him, and he's probably right about that. So we'll see how that goes. Other big thing, we had a new person show up. We had Wes. I didn't really talk about him in the last review, but he's apparently going to be a love interest of some kind for Lauren. I'm not sure if I trust him yet. He's a little too smooth. I don't know. I have a feeling about this kid. We have a lot of weird faces, a lot of new faces in the underground, and I would not be surprised if he's some kind of a plant. But we'll see. Maybe he is just a love interest for Lauren. Other big thing that happened was that Eclipse, she was just like, peace out. I don't blame her. The way that Johnny and Dreamer handled the whole situation with Dreamer, going in and manipulating her mind, was totally wrong, and unfortunately Johnny didn't really do anything to appease that. You know, instead of just coming in with, listen, what we did was wrong, you know, well, what Dreamer did was wrong, but it was wrong of me not to like come to you and tell you, even though it wasn't my place. I should have done something, you know. Overall, it should have just been, I'm sorry. But just the justification after justification, I don't blame poor, you know, I don't blame poor Blake for thinking, you know what? Y'all just want me to be your walking doorway, and you don't care about what you do to me mentally and otherwise, so I'm just gonna peace out and take my chances out there, because at least I get to do things on my terms. I'm excited to see what's gonna happen in this episode, because it's been solid so far. So enough of me blah blah blahing, let's get into this episode. Boop.
I'll expect you tomorrow.
Oh, Marcos, you sold your soul to the devil, man. And she's in a red dress. Ooh, they have pendants in this gang, not tats. Fancy.
And one more thing, I'm gonna go track down Clarice.
Now?
Yes.
You really think that's a good idea?
She knows where this place is. Sentinel Services catches her right now, it's gonna be a disaster.
Yep.
All right?
Come on, can't you just bend the rules this once? Do you want to miss out on everything?
You are like a textbook bad influence.
Yep.
You know that, right?
Okay.
What?
Oh no, it's not the Titanic, please.
Now open them.
Lauren. Ooh.
You guys get checked for herpes, right? I hear it's super contagious.
Way to be a stalker, Andy.
I'm coming to come get you. It's lunch.
When Andy's not being an angry boy, he's actually pretty funny. Ew. That mac and cheese looks awful.
Mom, the only cool thing about being a refugee is no school.
Well, that's the deal. You want to train, you're also going to study.
Holy crap. I didn't know she could speed read.
Looks like
Is that... That's Wes, isn't it?
Hold on.
I knew it!
Grace is gone. We lost our little girl.
Wow. Active PTSD. This isn't good.
Yeah, with all due respect, I'm not sure they're suitable for undercover work. Oh, you'd be surprised.
All due respect, I don't like meeting no
We
meat.
placed several assets in
So if you guys want to come check out the pea plants, you can see all the different sizes and shapes and colors.
They're just gonna
Be
eat
right
them.
back.
Or destroy them.
What?
Or
We have a
both.
situation.
Let's get going to the upside down. What's going on?
On your right.
Believe me, Andy, you are the least of her worries right now.
At least you're not in trouble, Andy. Take it.
Hey, listen. I'm sorry.
Oh,
All right, what happened
finally.
with you and Sonia? I should have told you.
You think?
Yes.
You know, road must mean something to me, and I want to know why.
Let me help you find it.
What? No. I don't
Tracker.
need your help.
Yeah, you do. I'm tracking you, remember? You clearly have no idea where you're headed. I owe you. Nothing else.
True enough. And you get to spend more time with him, huh?
This is a legal nightmare. You don't have warrants, probable cause.
Ma'am, you have no idea what these people are capable of.
Under the terrorist
These
guidelines,
people.
we're not obligated.
We're short on blankets, so anyone who can share, please share. And,
This job today, do I get the magic hands?
okay, just shut up!
Reed.
It's not your fault, Reed. She's gonna angst. It's the first time Lauren's really angsted since we got here. We were due.
No, you can't, because there's nothing to track. No trail to follow.
Yeah, maybe, maybe not. You could have a trail inside you.
Oh, man, I'm
Excuse
not in the
you?
mood for some hippie new age talk right now, all right?
Listen to me.
We're pursuing terrorists.
You mean people you suspect of
Yes,
terrorism?
exactly.
American
Thank you.
citizens.
They protest our...
That
Wow.
argument was tried on Catholics in the 1950s, on Muslims in the 2000s, and the Supreme Court shut it down every time.
Meanwhile, our work can proceed.
This is
I
not...
have to say, Agent Turner, I liked your passion in there. Grace would have been proud.
Oh, you did not. This doctor. Okay. Okay. All right.
You're just like one of your stupid mirages.
Ooh, that was deep. That's one of them mind bombs. That's gonna twist in his head for a while.
I remember this gate.
Whoa, just wait. You can't just walk in.
That's the
What's
furnace.
happening? Oh no. That's not a good sign.
Grace, I'm sorry.
Hey, ladies, looking good. Is something I can help you with?
Really? You're not very bright.
Oh, sorry, I know we're supposed to be inside. It's nice out here.
Now leave and never come back. Jones says you're looking for a lot of reasons to hug our girl. Cool! That is a great power. Oh, she's gonna see that smile and she's gonna be like, uh-ohs.
Let's go.
Wait, don't you want to talk?
No, he can save himself.
That's right, girl. 2 snaps. He got himself in this mess. He can get himself out. Andy's like, I'm so glad I'm not the reason everyone's upset at dinner.
Sorry, didn't...
Then you're leaving.
Yeah.
It's best.
Sorry for interrupting, and have a lovely dinner.
Have a lovely dinner now that I've dropped a big guilt bomb. I'm glad Clarice is back purely to annoy Dreamer. Wow, John, you look like you're thrilled about this situation. Hey, there's way too many people in that place for any of that to go on, Mr. and Mrs. Strucker. Keep it PG. Bye, Wes. Thanks for coming out. I'm sure we're gonna see him again. We spent way too much time on him.
What do you mean?
It's not run by the government. It's a private military contractor, Trask Industries.
Ah!
Trask Industries.
Yes!
Shut.
How do you know that?
My father worked there for 35 years.
There's the link!
You think he has something to do with all this?
I don't know. I don't know anything anymore.
Oh, but we're gonna find
Exciting
out.
time, Agent.
Wow, okay, guys. So that was episode 7, which was called Extreme Measures. And Yeah, it looks like that's exactly what's happening as far as Jace is concerned with the mutants. Another solid episode. I really, really, really like this show. Like, honestly, I haven't had an episode yet that's disappointed me. All of the episodes have had good writing, good editing, good pacing. We're actually moving the plot along. They reveal just a little bit more each time to keep you interested and intrigued without like oversaturating us with information that isn't necessary. Like, they really found a great recipe for this show. So far, I'm loving it. I'm really sad that it's actually only 13 episodes. I feel like I could definitely watch 22 episodes of this happily. All right, let's get into this episode. Wrote down some notes here because there's always so many tidbits in this show that you gotta write stuff down. It's hard to remember it all at the end. We heard from the flashback with Polaris and Eclipse and John that the X-Men are gone. So we didn't really hear that officially before. We heard that John said that, you know, the X-Men asked him to start the Underground and to lead it, but they just said, like, you know, they kind of made it, alluded to the idea that the X-Men might be hiding or just might be unavailable, but they just said X-Men are gone. The X-Men are gone. This is the Underground. We're doing this now. So very interesting that they said that. So again, it's kind of hard to figure out where the timeline is because I feel like this ties into the movies, which I'll talk about in a bit, but X-Men as we know it are gone. I don't know if that means they're just disbanded, if they've dispersed, if they're all dead. Still up in the air. Interesting moment with Dr. Campbell and the relationship he has with Jace. I said this in the last episode that, you know, Jace was desperate. You know, he obviously did this deal because he wants to get revenge now. But we saw really in this episode how much he's starting to realize just how dark of a path he stepped onto just for the sake of revenge. And that's really all it is. You know, he really just wants to make somebody pay for the pain that he's feeling. And sadly, with what Dreamer did in the last episode or the episode before, she just reopened those wounds and brought up all those raw emotions for him again. And now it's just kind of like he just wants to channel that pain. And sadly, it's not in a productive way. Lumping all the mutants into one big category, we all know that's wrong. And again, as I've mentioned so many times before, this show has done such a masterful job of tackling issues that we actually deal with in the real world where there are mutants, but you know, things like prejudices and prejudgments and just, you know, having one bad experience or two bad experiences with people from a certain whatever, and then deciding that anyone who shares a similar, you know, case must be the same way. Like, we do that as humans all the time, and it's not right. We know it's not right, but again, they presented it in a way that isn't really preaching at anybody or pointing fingers. It's simply pointing to a way of thinking that hopefully makes people stop and go, you know, that's why that isn't okay. That's why it shouldn't happen. So, but anyways, the fact that Jace has this going on and Dr. Campbell has clearly figured that out and he's zeroing in on it. That's the part that's unbelievable. That he's just like, oh, okay, so Gracie's the trigger and your pain around that incident is what I'm gonna use anytime you start to question my moral judgment, which I clearly don't have anymore. The fact that he used a mutant right there in a room full of witnesses to basically stroke out a woman is crazy, and Jace should know that. I mean, mind you, that's also probably a message to Jace as well, that if he doesn't cooperate or play ball, Dr. Campbell might just step in and use this guy to stroke him out too, or maybe his family members. So yeah, Jace has gotten in way over his head, and I think as the season progresses, what might end up turning him, if there is a turning point for Jace, is going to be when he sees that this doctor is willing to take it all the way to the like, he's taking it all the way. So Dr. Campbell, he's gonna be big trouble. He's definitely the Dr. Trask, which another great tidbit that they dropped, but he's definitely the Dr. Trask of this series. Doesn't care about mutants, just cares about the means to the end. Wes. Well, I didn't mention him much in the last episode, but honestly, I didn't really trust him. I thought he was a little too smooth, a little too charming, and it didn't shock me at all that in this episode we found out that he was a con. Now, I knew almost immediately that he was gonna have some kind of a sob story and that likely he was gonna say that, much like Marco's story, he had no choice but to do the con so that he could survive. But just, there's still just something about him that just doesn't ring, I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe it's just the actor, I don't know, but I just feel like there's still more to him that we don't know yet. But I just don't feel like they just brought him in for the sake of keeping Lauren distracted for a couple of, episodes. It could have been also to bring up some angst, because out of the two Strucker kids, she definitely has been the least problematic out of the two of them, and we haven't really seen her have any angsty moments the way we've seen it with Andy. So maybe this was just a way to show that Lauren isn't so perfect, and that, the Struckers have two teenagers to deal with, and that these are the kind of fun issues you have to deal with from time to time. Clarice, I'm glad we went looking for Clarice, because the way that Johnny and Dreamer handled her was abominable. It was disgraceful. And someone mentioned in the comments last week, and I completely agree, that I didn't really mention it, but Dreamer gets on my nerves. I don't like her. I don't like the way she's that most dangerous kind of girl. You know, that girl who acts all nice and has those sweet ways, the ways of talking, and gets those kind of pouty looks and all that kind of thing, but really deep down, she's like the most, like, just jealous and hateful and spiteful people. The people who give like backhanded compliments and stuff like that. That's the kind of girl Dreamer is. Like, she just acts all sweet, walk, oh, look, you need blankets, don't worry, I'm helping out everybody. Here's some food for you, don't you worry, I'm just, golly gosh, gee whiz, great. Deep down, she's like, I see you, Clarice, I see that my man's looking at you, and so I'm gonna go and mess with you and not even apologize, really, and be sorry about it, because deep down, she had to know that what she did with leaving the memories, especially with Clarice, was gonna mess things up for anything she might be feeling for Johnny. And like I said, I noticed in the first couple episodes, there was definitely some chemistry going on between Johnny and Clarice. So Dreamer probably picked up on that real quick too, and just decided to, basically end that before it started without actually having to do anything. So yeah, I don't like Dreamer either, for the record. I mean, her power is cool, but I said it, I think a couple reviews ago, that I think she's gonna be one of the ones that defects to the Brotherhood or the New Brotherhood side of things, and this kind of stuff is exactly why. She's clearly jealous, and she didn't have a reason to be, because Johnny wasn't really looking. I think it's not a matter of Johnny not being interested. I think Johnny just is thinking, we ain't got time for romance right now, a lot's going on. Maybe if things were a little calmer. I feel like Clarice's story was a little bit flat though, like, she wanted to go back to where she took people and now they're gone, and that's kind of the end of it. I mean, I get in a way that it at least stops her from having to worry about finding these people, but I still have questions as to why she didn't remember that place. Like, what happened that she lost her memory? I guess it was just, the whole point of it was for her to cut her ties to whatever that was so she can give her full attention to the underground and really have nowhere else to go. But hey, she's back, and we saw in those scenes together, Johnny clearly has a little thing for her. He's feeling my girl Clarice, but he's in a weird place. He's in a weird place because this thing with Dreamer is a thing but not a thing, and he's clearly not really into it anymore, but I think he's a little scared. I feel like Johnny's a little scared that if he tells her it's over, he's gonna lose somebody that he can kind of get to do whatever he wants right now, but also, who knows, she might end up using her powers and forcing him to like her anyway. So Marcos, the whole thing with the cartel, first I'll admit that I kind of wanted Polaris to show up and just completely just jack all of the cartel stuff up, just to really mess with her. But the fact is, and I'm glad they kind of brought it out in this episode, it dawned on me that this isn't only about the fact that Marcos made the deal with the devil. Yes, he went to the cartel, yes, he got the information he needed, maybe there really wasn't another way that he could think of, but in that moment where he was doing what he was doing, his ex had a point, Carmen had a point, that he really does enjoy it. There's a part of him that still likes the aspect of what he was doing, right? He walked away from that fire with a smile on his face, and that's exactly what Lorna saw, and she was like, holy crap, this is not him just like doing this begrudgingly. There's a part of him that's actually into this. Like, he's saying, oh no, I don't want you, but maybe he does. Now, I personally don't think it's a matter of him wanting to do criminal activity. I think it comes back to just being able to use his powers freely to release that. I can only imagine that keeping all that pent up all the time probably doesn't feel great. I think it's just like all the mutants in general would just love to be able to use their powers as they want to, but the point is, the bottom line is, and I love that Lorna said, I love the line where she says, he can save himself. That's exactly what it comes down to. But in the end, Marco got himself into this, and Marcos has to get himself out, and he needs to decide whether or not he's really done with that life and done with everything that comes with it, or if he really is with the underground and that cause. Just as a side note, the mutant who could like freeze time or freeze people, how sweet was that? That was awesome. And the other big, huge thing, oh my God, Reed's dad worked for Trask Industries. That's huge. That is huge. His father was just a throwaway line in like episode 2, which I knew there wasn't a throwaway line. I think I mentioned in that review video that they wouldn't have brought him up unless he was going to be a factor at some point. But I never would have thought him and Trask, because the first time we've actually heard Trask Industries is this episode. Now, for those of you who've not watched the newer X-Men movies, that name may not mean anything to you, but in the newer movies, Trask Industries was a private firm that basically did mutant research, but not for the betterment of mutants, but to basically isolate the X gene, isolate what made their powers happen, and more importantly, eliminate them at some point. So if you don't know much about that, I encourage you to watch at least the first X-Men movie in Days of Future Past. Apocalypse, you can skip that one. But it explains, you'll meet who Trask is and what his vision is, and it's not a good thing, is the bottom line. So it kind of shows that Reed's family, at least on his father's side, has a history of not necessarily being too kind to mutants. But it also makes me wonder if perhaps Mr. Strucker, meaning Reed's papa, might have been doing a little experimentation of his own. We didn't know what capacity his father worked in. They didn't say who he was in the Trask business, but the majority of Trask Industries was science. The majority of it was scientists and doctors and biologists and all that kind of stuff. So maybe Reed's daddy was a biologist. And maybe Reed's daddy started to toy with some mutant genes, and maybe he did such toying either on himself, maybe initially, and then passed that on to Reed, who maybe didn't, yield any results, but now Reed's children, with a generation baking in that change in the DNA. I don't know, guys. That's my theory. What do you guys think? Or maybe it was Grandpa Strucker did something to the kids. Who knows? With those kind of scientists, especially the extreme ones like Trask, it's very possible he could have experimented on Reed's kids and never told him. And that would be crazy, but I would love that as a storyline. I'm not gonna lie. I think that'd be awesome to see that. But I feel like the point is we're gonna see Papa Strucker, and we're gonna see him probably before the season is out, and we're gonna get some answers as to why the Strucker kids, first of all, are mutants, and second of all, why they're so powerful. Because I feel like maybe there might have been a little mixing and matching and whatever that cocktail they were trying to concoct with all those mutants that they found from the files. Maybe that cocktail is what's inside of Andy and Lauren right now. So that got me pumped. That was a really tiny but massive thing that they dropped at the end and made me pumped for the rest of this season. So that's basically the episode, guys. Again, great. I enjoyed it. Good amount of action, good amount of exposition, lots of stuff to theorize on, and of course, always your message, the good old global message they stick into every episode. What did you guys think? Did you think this one is on par with the rest? Did you enjoy it? Do you think my theory is right about potentially the Strucker children being science experiments, or potentially that Reed was a science experiment and didn't even realize it? And are you excited to meet Papa Strucker? And also, what do you think about Jace's whole journey? Do you feel like he's actually gonna turn in the end when he realizes that Dr. Campbell's going too far? Or do you think he's just gonna end up surrendering and just giving up what's left of his soul? Please leave your comments below. I love the discussions that we get into with you guys. It's been awesome. So if you wanna see more from this geeky face, I'd really encourage you to join the fam and hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, go ahead and click like. Until next time, guys, see ya.